Nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật. Nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật. Nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật. Nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật.
Sikmuni Buddha has never bathed for you, and he already passed away for over 2,600 years. If you can hug the Buddha statue with sincerity and respect, you should do the same for your parents. You cleanse yourself and bring the bath fragrance to prepare a bath for your parents. The eldest son or child will be first in line, then the younger one, then the in-laws, and then the grandchildren to bathe their parents. This merit is greater than bathing for the bronze, clay, or concrete Buddha statue. So Buddha's followers are very pitiful. They don't bathe their parents, but put their parents in a nursing home. The health workers beat and torture their parents. The Buddhist followers don't feed their parents, but rely on the nurses at the nursing home. Instead of taking care of their parents, they run after things that were completely against Buddha's will. Many people ask me, when King Sattuhan passed away, the Buddha returned to carry the coffin. The four heavenly kings, the gods of the ninth heaven, and the devas came down to carry the coffin, but the Buddha did not give up his spot. Buddha said he still have to pay filial piety. The Buddha also wanted to show his disciples in the future that the Buddha still carried the coffin of his father. So the disciple should be filial to their parents. So many cultivators dwell on the Vajra Sutra and assumed that there is no form of selfness, form of sentient beings, forms of others, and forms of giving and receiving, and they completely ignore to pay filial piety. There is another email also asking about paying filial piety and the merit in heaven. It was from a young male Buddhist follower in the United States. This email is also related to the preaching of the Diamond Sutra. He listened to my preaching and has questions for me to clarify. Please let me read the letter to you. Dear Venerable, my mother has been practicing Buddhism with you since 2005 until now. I am the one who has driven my mother to all her Dharma assemblies held in the state of California, such as in San Jose, Sacramento, Fresno, and Southern California. But I never understood your preaching. Recently, your preaching has been translated to English, and I went to New T's Facebook page to listen to your preaching in English. I think they are very good. However, there is a passage that I do not agree with in the section about blessing. In the Diamond Sutra, it did not talk about the devas who ran out of blessing would be exiled from the heavens. You did not preach about this, but another Buddhist monk from Australia said a deva who ran out of blessing, they would be exiled to the lower realm or human realm. For example, if a Vietnamese came to the US after 1995, commits a crime, that is all the blessings are depleted. If that person does not have citizenship, then he or she will be deported back to Vietnam due to the diplomatic agreement with the Vietnamese communists. Those who came before 1995 would not be deployed or deported because the Vietnamese communists would not accept them because the US did not have the diplomatic agreement with the Viet Cong. I have a question that those who ran out of blessing, which are criminals, obviously they will be deported back to Vietnam. Clearly, no Vietnamese in the US go back to Vietnam to live in a miserable country at their own will. Meanwhile, the Buddha said a diva who lives in heaven ran out of blessing. He suddenly doesn't want to sit in his throne, but likes to move to the lower realm or human world. This doesn't seem logic to me. Why would divas who run out of blessing refuse to sit on his throne and want to move to a lower realm? Can you please explain to me so I can understand this thoroughly? In my opinion, the Buddha's disciple did not understand the sutra and misinterpret the meaning of the Buddha. I think it is true for divas who ran out of blessing will fall back to lower heavenly realms, or known as human world. It doesn't make any sense why they would want to move back to lower realms at their own will. Why would someone bored of having 1,000 wives, beautiful castle, fancier throne, and more elegant body, so he can live in an uglier and blessed place? I wish Varnable great health and continue to preach the Buddhist sutras. I want to thank the Buddhist friend New T for translating this to English speakers like me, who can now have the taste of Buddha's Dharma. Namo Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật. When I was in Vietnam and heard this passage, I also did not believe this passage was from the Buddhist scriptures either. When the divas run out of blessing, they will have lower quality appearances. First is the crown of each diva has a flower. If blossoms and illuminates beautiful aurora when the god is blessed, the flower begins to wilt when the blessing is starting to deplete. The clothes in heavens do not have to be washed, unlike our clothes here needs to be washed when we sweat. When the divas are still blessed, their scent has a scent of our wood, or mandala. However, when the blessing runs out, their sweat will be unpleasant, and they no longer want to live in their castle and sit on their throne. As the blessing is no longer exist, they will leave their castle. The flower on their crown is wilted, their clothes are sad, and their sweat is unpleasant. They either go back to the lower heaven realm or back to human world to pay their karma that was postponed while they lived in heaven. This young Buddhist follower did not believe the divas would automatically leave his palace and go down to the lower place. In the past, when I was still in Vietnam, I also had the same thought that when I heard the venerable monks preach this passage, I also oppose like this young fellow. However, when I came to the United States, I found it very logical. In my life, I met many Buddhist followers in the US whom have great careers, beautiful wives, smart children, and a happy family. But when they give up their lives at the United States, suddenly they get bored of their current life, their wives and children, and they go traveling to Vietnam. They go back to Vietnam even when the climate is hotter and the electricity went out all the time, while in the US, that rarely happens. Their wives are helping to pay the bill, give birth to their children, and educate their bloodline. Their spouse have shared bitter and sweetness since the downfall of the southern Vietnam in 1975. When they were in the so-called re-educational camp, their wives took their children to escape Vietnam. Then these ex-officers came here under the humanitarian operation. They were also allowed to stay in their castle and sat on their throne, which were their US citizenship or permanent residency. But then they automatically get bored with their happiness after a while. They get bored because they enjoy so much blessing, but they don't create any new merit. As their blessing runs out, they no longer enjoy to live in the US, and they withdraw all their money in their savings and sell their homes. They split their assets in half and get a divorce with their wives. They refuse to live in the United States. Isn't that refusing the higher heavenly realms to move to the lower heavenly realms? No one forces them to do that. Those are also my disciples, and I advise them not to do this. Their wives and children also cry and ask me to advise them to stay in the US and enjoy the more stable life. However, they said that they don't want to, and that they will retire in California. And they receive a pension of $900 a month, while unemployment people receive $600. They do not get paid very well, so they let their father live in a one unit. However, if they go back to Vietnam with $900 a month, they can live there like a king. So a young fellow sent me an email to ask me, there are so many people who spend so much money so they can live in the United States of America without success. It costs quite a bit to immigrate to this country. This old man is blessed. He sacrificed his youth, contribute his bones and blood for the country. He entered the military school of the Republic of Vietnam and fought until April 30th, 1975. He was brave and did not surrender to the enemy. He stayed at the battle to fight until the end and until the last bullet. Because of our fatherland, and he went to so-called re-education camp, he was released from the camp, and his descendants looked down on him until the day he immigrated to the United States by the Humanitarian Operation Program, which offered by Mr. Quoc Minh Thu's campaigning. That is all inmates of the Republic of Vietnam who have been imprisoned by the Viet Cong for 3 years or more will be allowed to immigrate to the United States for political reason. Please don't lament to the HO people and say that they came here to do nothing. Please don't say that the old glorious days of these ex-officers were over, and they are worthless now. I know there is a Buddhist family. The father came to the U.S. when his wife and the 5 other children lived on until John McCain's campaign. 3 other children who were over 18 years old also immigrated to the U.S. with their family. Under my rough estimation, a family of 10 who legally immigrated to the U.S. because of the father was a political refuge, each would cost around $50,000. In addition, the child-in-law and grandchildren would cost another $500,000. So the father gave nearly $1 million to his family already. That is a time of blessing. When people get rich, they usually change friends and wives. He left his position as a prisoner of conscience, a political prisoner, giving up his statue as a respectable grandfather. An ex-officer used to fight for freedom and went back to Vietnam to marry a younger wife. He also gave up his citizenship and rejoined the Vietnamese citizenship of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. I want to make it clear that this person is listening now, and his children are also listening. When his ex-wife came to visit him, he was crying and begging to find ways to restore his U.S. citizenship so that he can return back to the U.S. He is now very pathetic. The money is not enough to spend in Vietnam because everything is so expensive in Saigon. In addition, his old age is a physiological problem when marrying a young woman in 20s or 30s years old. He doesn't even have the lust of beauty anymore. He misses his grandchildren, misses his son, and misses his daughter. I can only advise the children not to forget about him. Because of his imprisonment in this so-called re-education camp, they had let his children go to the U.S. It was his own fault to make that mistake, but they should not ignore him. I told the children to help him financially every month. He left a blessing life in the U.S. to return to the hell in Vietnam. The Buddhist Sutras clearly proves that. Some of you who are listening to the preaching know that there are many people who automatically give up their occupation, places in the United States to invest and do business in Vietnam. And they eventually lose everything. The Buddha's scriptures was not wrong about those people who left their throne and blessings to live in hell. So they now cry and miss their children, grandchildren, and their old wife. Under President Trump's administration, it is not possible to return to the U.S. I know there is a family like that. At the time, I tried to stop him with all my efforts, but he did not listen. And now he asked me to help him come back to the U.S. I told him that he was a person living in heaven, but he left it to now live in hell. He now has no chance to come back under Trump administration. Under Obama's administration, he might have used bribery. The only thing he can do now is just try to live with it. This is a warning lesson for those who are enjoying the blessings of heaven, but decide to find a lower place on their own. At that time, when I did not go to the U.S., I couldn't prove this passage in the sutra. However, many people who listens to this sutra sees it very clearly. I also say enough about preaching, giving alms, and cultivating wisdom. Please do not think the Diamond Sutra opposes giving alms. The Buddha preached about the supreme enlightenment, But in the Diamond Sutra, he also said there is no supreme enlightenment. Why is that? The Buddha says assets are fake. Wife and children are unreal. The compliments and laments are non-real and garbage. If the Buddha said that Buddhahood is real, then he respected the Buddhahood and criticizes sentient beings. Therefore, the Buddha rejected the Buddhahood as well. The Diamond Sutra is a sutra used for breaking form and attachment. Therefore, I do not hinder on the words and develop other delusional thoughts while we have succumbed our delusional mind. The male Buddhist followers has been preaching giving alms for a long time. And because listening to the preaching of the Diamond Sutra, he said that he will no longer practice giving alms. That because he still have delusional thoughts, he hasn't preached giving alms and cultivating wisdom at the same time. If you fail to succumb the delusional mind, you then can't retain in the true mind. In order not to waste any more time, I will return to the passage of the Diamond Sutra on this passage. This passage is the passage that the Buddha wanted to preach about one form and no form. The Buddha taught, Sibutu, what do you think? Does a disciple who has obtained Chuatamnguyen say within himself? Was I obtained the first level of holy sage? Sibutu said, no, Buddha. Why? Because a Chuatamnguyen who entered the holy lineage, but there is no lineage entering. The disciple who pays no regards to form, sound, odor, taste, touch, or any quality is called a holy lineage entering. As you remember in other sutra, the Buddha encouraged lay people, if in this life they have not successfully recited Buddha's name with pure thoughts and have not meditated to obtain the Arhat level, then they try to obtain the Chuatamnguyen level. As I preach in other sutra, Chuatamnguyen is the first level that enters the holy lineage. When the Buddha was alive, he preached to his 1,250 disciples to obtain Arhat level. Lay people who practice giving alms listens to Buddha's preaching for a short time, and they all obtain Chuatamnguyen level. That is the only rebirth as human for 7 more times and obtain Arhat level. There was also lay people who listens to Buddha a week or 2 and obtain Arhat level, like Elder Sariputta and the first 10 disciples of the Buddha. Once obtained the Arhat level, they no longer bound to the cycle of birth and death. In the old days, I also said if giving $1 million to someone to ask that person to stop believing in the Buddha Sikmoni and stop preaching their Tripitaka, but that person does not give up, then that person is about to enter the holy lineage. That is certain beliefs about Buddhist sutras, not the Diamond Sutra. Whoever has the firm belief like Dandali Sala, son of the wealthy merchant, Atta Thakapindika, who has paid 1,000 tassels of gold for attending one-day monastic retreat, that is keeping the 8 precepts of sleeping on the ground and eating only 1 meal a day. On the second retreat, Dandi Sala kept forgetting the preaching due to the magical powers of the Buddha. He finally had to listen to the Buddha's preaching with sincere and obtain Sarpatapana level. So when he got home, the wealthy merchant gave him 1,000 gold tassels to reward, but he refused to accept it. The Buddha then said if someone has pure faith to the Tripitaka and the faith can't change because of money, even from the king of the earth or the gods of heaven, that person has obtained the Sarpatapa level. However, in the Diamond Sutra, the Sarpatapana level was not like that. The Buddha asked Elder Subhutu, what do you think? Does a disciple who has obtained Sarpatapana stay within himself? Was I obtained the first level of holy sage? Subhutu said, no, Buddha. Why? Because a Sarpatapana who entered the holy lineage, but there is no lineage entering. The disciple who pays no regards to form, sound, odor, taste, touch, or any quality is called a holy lineage entering. The Sarpatapana level was clearly defined in the Diamond Sutra. In other sutra, it was called as entering the holy lineage. In the Buddha's time, the holy lineage has 4 levels. The first level is Sarpatapana. The second level is Sakradagamin. The third level is Anagamin, and then Arhat. In other sutra, the Buddha encourages us to obtain at least the first level, that is Sarpatapana. Once obtained this level, the cultivator will reincarnate as human for 7 times before entering nirvana. The Sakradagman will reincarnate as human for 1 more time, while the Agmaman won't have to reincarnate at all. Arhat is the end of samsara. Once the Arhat ends their life in this world, they would enter the rementless nirvana. While an Arhat still lives in this world after obtaining the Arhat level, such as Great Venerable Hua Su, Venerable Huvang, or Dalai Lama, we called as remnant nirvana. These saints obtain the Arhat level but still attached to the physical bodies until they pass away and enter the nirvana without returning to this world. That is called relentless nirvana because has nothing attached to this world. When the Buddha asked Elder Subhutu, when a person obtained the first holy level, which is Sarpatapana, they merge into the holy lineage. Would that person declare that he already obtained their Sarpatapana level? The elder said no, because that person did not have anything to merge into the holy lineage, that he actually entered the holy lineage. Because that person no longer let the beauty, taste, smell, sound, or tactile feeling enter his mind. For example, Sarpatapana saw a beautiful girl walking by. He would not let her beauty imprint in his mind. If he heard a great song, he would not let that song retain in his mind. If he went to a formal dinner that served great dishes, his mind won't dwell on the flavor. If he took a beautiful girl's hand that's so soft and silky, he won't let the feeling of her hand retained in his mind. That was the reason Elder Subhutu responded to the Buddha that according to his understanding, entering the holy language, because there is nothing to enter. If entering the holy language but still retain the beauty, then that person is predestined to return to the human world for many more times. If that person still dwells on the praise and laments, then he still have to stay in this world for a very long time. If he still attaches to the flavor of food, then he will be slaved for this realm for a long time. If eating dinner lacking hot sauce, lack of wine, makes him not enjoy his dinner, then he will be slaved for the physical body for a long time. If he still enjoys the feeling of contact between male and female, he will be cycled in samara for quite some time. Elder Subhutu said a great comment. According to the Buddha, a person who obtained Sartapana level enters the holy language. But the elder knew that there are nothing to enter. No attaching to beauty, sound, sight, taste, smell, no tactile feelings. Then that person is truly obtained the Sartapana. Do you think it was good? Because earthly karma, we are dragged into the assets, wives, children, and the things around us. As we see a beautiful girl, we are drawn by the beauty, so we get married. As we listen to her sweet voice and imprint in our mind, leads to marriage. The physical touch between men and women creates the feeling of lust. As you see clearly, the other sutras say that Sartapana, the entering the holy language. However, in the Diamond Sutra, the Buddha said there is nothing to enter. No sight, sound, no taste, no tactile feeling, and even no Dharma language to enter. Dharma language is all the Dharma quotes and Dharma preaching from me, embracing the wisdom, rid of delusional mind, and retain the true mind. In the old days, it was preaching the alms, giving. Now is cultivating wisdom. If there is no holy language to enter, then we cannot succumb to the delusional mind and retain in the true mind. That is where you have to pay attention. You cultivate with mid-dharma because you lean toward almsgiving or opening wisdom. Both will cause imbalance. If you ever become a Buddhist monk and want to proclaim the Dharma, you can easily build the temple without debt. Organizing the Dharma assembly smoothly, has plenty of money to pay for the Dharma assembly's preparation instead of taking losses. If we only cultivate wisdom without practicing giving alms, a Dharma master who preaches sutras very well, but his temple is buried in debt. And if he organizes a Dharma assembly, the finances can't be fulfilled. If cycling in the world of samsara and born as an animal, people who practice giving alms will be born in the country that have animal rights. In some cases, the animal actually have more blessings than humans. Therefore, blessing and wisdoms are the right hand and left hand. We must always practice giving alms and cultivating wisdom together. The Buddha then asked about the next level, which is Sakra Dogmen. Subhutu, what do you think? Does a Sakra Dogmen who is subject to only one more rebirth stay within himself? Was I obtained the second level of Arhat? Elder Subhutu said, no, Buddha. Why? Because Sakra Dogmen is merely a name. There is no passing away, no coming into existence. Therefore, Sakra Dogmen is called once to be reborn. According to Elder Subhutu, people who obtain Sakra Dogmen will return to the human world one more time. But that is based on other sutras, like Satrapana. Sakra Dogmen will have to return to the human world 7 more times. However, the Buddha said in the Diamond Sutra, if there is no dwelling on sight, sound, smell, taste, tactile feelings, nor dharma, then that is truly entering the holy language. That means entering the holy language is stop cycling in samsara. Sakra Dogmen is called once to be reborn. That is, return to the human realm one more time. However, Elder Subhutu responded, if there is no returning, then it will be truly obtaining Sakra Dogmen level. What does that mean? That is, we still dragged by our karma. On the contrary, Sotapanna must cycle for 7 times due to the karma of the current life. Sotapanna needs 7 lives to pay off their karma. In simple words, a person who wants to take refuge in the temple, but still 1 more year to pay off his mortgage for his family, that is called wants to be returned. People who need 7 years to pay off the house, the restaurant, or the nail salon, then calls as 7 to be returned. Therefore, the Buddha call Sakra Dogmen as once to be reborn because they only need 1 life to pay off their karma. After that, there is nothing to return. The karma and the blessings are all unreal. Good or bad karmas are created by us and our surrounding conditions. Therefore, they are unreal. The Buddha said that these base on the essence of the Diamond Sutra. The Buddha asks Elder Subhutu again, Subhutu, what do you think? Does an Agamen who will never be reborn as a moral stay within himself? Was I obtained the 3rd level class as an Arhat, which is a non-returner? Subhutu said, no, Buddha. Why? Because Agmamen is merely a name. There is no non-returning, hence the destination non-returner. The 3rd level Agmamen is the one that will not return to the human realm because they meditate to reach Agmamen level. When they die, their souls will go to the highest heavenly realm to further meditate until they no longer have greed, anger, and lust, thoughts, and that they will then obtain Arhat level. Therefore, they are called non-returner, because they no longer return to human realm. However, Elder Supitu said that they can't be called as non-returner because if they cannot return to the human world, save other sentient beings, non-returner is just a temporary name mentioned by the Buddha in other sutras when they have not obtained arhat level. These non-returner must return to fulfill the vow of a Bodhisattva. During the time of a Buddha, there are many people who obtain arhat level and have entered the nirvana because of staying alive and preaching Dharma to save sentient beings. Venerable Anang did not obtain arhat level until the first scripture gathering. He then stayed back in the human world until 120 years old. Because of that, we now have many Buddha scriptures today.
Nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật. Nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật. Nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật. Nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật. Nam mô